So, hello friends. Many people were asking me how to prepare specifically for the IAT exam. So, I'm here just to explain you how we prepare going about it. So, giving my introduction, I am Anshuman Rawat and I am pursuing BSMS first year from IISER Pune, and I have a kvpy fellow also, and my IISER aptitude test rank was 26 in EWS category and 416 in general category. I think I'm qualified enough to tell you guys. So first about the pattern of the examination. So IISER aptitude test, it's a 60 question paper. You have 60 questions in the paper, 15 of each subject from physics, chemistry, maths and biology. So maths, 15 questions are a little difficult as compared to chem and biology. The same is true for physics also. That physics and maths are typically more difficult than chemistry and biology. So if you are focused on chemistry and biology, if you specifically are a PCB student or a NEET aspirant, I think chemistry and biology can be your key, and you can start the paper from there and then do physics and then maths. So most of people are either from PCM background or they're from PCB background, so they have difficulty in solving the fourth section of the paper. It's not compulsory to solve the fourth section of the paper, because even if you get maybe 100 marks, you get a seat in IISER Pune, right? So if you do only three subjects, that means that you can attempt the maximum of 135 marks. So getting 100 is not a very difficult task, given the difficulty of the paper and the time you have. So in IISER aptitude test, you are given 3 hours to solve the paper. So that means that 180 minutes you have for solving 60 questions, provided you are solving 45 questions. So you get 4 minutes for each question. But if you are interested, you can also prepare for the fourth part. So for PCM students, I think preparing for biology will be a little easier. You can focus on some parts like genetics, like evolution, which are frequently asked in the IISER aptitude test, like ecology and all. So ecology, genetics and evolution, all from 12th standard, and as well as the cell biology. If you prepare these four chapters, these four parts of biology well, I think you can solve like 80% of the question of IIT, because they are mostly from these topics only. So just read the NCRT, just thorough or basics. So this is one very peculiar thing about IIT exam, as essentially is that IIT exam, it does not test your theory much, right? It rather tests your concepts. It doesn't test your calculation, nor your even database. Okay? It doesn't check your memory at all. For calculation, they've already given you scientific calculator, so they're not checking your speed or calculation, because the time you get, it is 180 minutes for solving 60 questions is too much, right? Given the level of the paper, they mostly check your basics. If you are thorough with the basics, if you can do fundamental level analysis well, I think you are equipped enough to solve the paper. Coming about the material you need to go about, I think for physics, it's your massive good resource to follow. But the most important thing is, again, I will say, to clear out your basics well, right? If you are clear with the basics of physics, I think there's nobody stopping you from solving the IIT exam, because it's much more basic oriented, right? You are asked to not memorize formulas or do some advanced calculations. I think that's not the point of the exam. The point of the exam is to check your aptitude, to check your basic understanding of things, how well you know the concepts well. So if you have studied physics conceptually, which is, I think, from XUMA you can do well, then I think there's nobody can stop you. You can also follow Resnick Alida, just do the theory, nothing to do the questions from it. Just follow do complete your basics of your 11th and 12th. The most important topics being optics. Optics is really asked. Then there's electricity and magnetism, which is really thoroughly asked. Modern physics and mechanics section. Also do emphasis a little on the SHM chapter. So mechanics, they particularly are particular about Newton's laws of motion, and the second theme, it could be work, energy and power. These two chapters, do them well. The last step will be regarding solving the mock test. I think if you do three mock tests, it's enough, and just do not very overwhelmed by so much material, right? Just do your IISER aptitude test, past 5 years papers. You will get a gist of all the concept that are and the way and the overall paper pattern. You can follow a strategy. The strategy which I personally followed was, I usually do physics first, which is little contra contrarian, but I do it because I was really interested in physics, so I do it first, and I think I have a thorough grasp of it. Then I do chemistry, then I do biology, and at last I do mathematics. So my order was PCB and M. I was a PCMB student, so I know both maths and bio. That was a plus point. That why I could score a good score in IAT exam and get a decent rank, right? Uh, Talking about chemistry section, doing the NCRT well is very important. For organic section, you can watch some video lectures from an academy, JEE YouTube channel, or you can even follow a Pandit sir YouTube channel. Uh, or if you are not doing that, you can either read Solomon's Fries or any other classic textbook, right? The major aim is not to give you so many sources. The major aim is here is that you should master one source well. So if you are doing some lectures, master them well. The main source is that you should understand the basic concept of organic chemistry, how mechanisms are done, what are even reaction, what are E2 reaction, what are substitution, what is addition, what is the carbocation, what's a carbanion, what's a free radical, and how these are all related. So that's important. What's different types of isomers, stereochemistry of a reaction kya hoti, particular for every particular reaction there's a stereochemistry, right? If you do understand stereochemistry, it's nice. So follow the basics. Just I will say again and again, follow the basics, and you will ace the exam. For section like inorganic chemistry, for JEE inorganic chemistry, you need to memorize a lot of stuff, right? Similar goes for NEET, but for IAT, it's not very much required. Although you need to memorize some things, if you clearly see the pattern, they ask some logical questions based on periodic table or chemical bonding or maybe S&P block, but they are logical kind of. You can make a logical guess of this and follow to the answer. It's not necessary that you have to mug the answer, although you can do mugging and all and pass the exam as well. But I think you get the point that yeah, if you are follow thorough with the basics, usually not ask the exception, but some popular exceptions are good enough. So if you read NCRT well and do some video lectures, or you read some kind of textbook and all, and you clear your basics, I think you are good to go. Just solve some previous year JEE Mains question, you will get a gist of it, and IAT exam as well. Talking about physical chemistry, I think practice is very much required. You can do NMST. The basic of for the JEE Mains part of it, you can do from NMST, and do the theory well of physical chemistry. The NCRT part is not given. It does not cover the concept well, so I would not recommend it. Although you should read NCRT because it's very helpful for JEE Mains and all. For IAT also, I believe. But instead of reading it, you can definitely read some other coaching material, or you can read some book. University has some theory, but nothing much theory in it. You can read some other book. I think OP Tandon I have followed a little bit. It was nicely written, so you can follow that. Talking about the questions, just do questions from any material you can get hands on. I think I have solved Alan and Alan's material, and both of them was good. So solving JEE Mains and advanced level question for IIT will be helpful. Let's talk about the mathematics section, which is a little difficult section. So you need to be again thorough with the basic, but NCRT doing will not suffice here. You need to do some coaching material. I would suggest Alan strongly here. Do functions, limits, continuity, differentiability, area under the curve, and application and derivatives well. This part is like really emphasized in IIT exam. Just do the functions chapter really well, because it's many questions asked from functions. Do PNC well and probability well. I think if you master these portions, you are good to go. From coordinate geometry part, unlike JEE, many questions do not come in the IIT exam. In my shift, I think a question of maybe parabola has came. You can see about it. But yeah, just know the basics of it. Trigonometry do not go very much into detail, I would just say. And practice as much question as you can get. Practice the questions which you can get a hands on, like maybe from a coaching material, or maybe from IIT mock test, or maybe from IIT previous year papers, or from JEE Mains, JEE Advanced. You can do anywhere. Just try to be develop a interest in math. That's very important, because if you want to come to IISER, you need to be really well versed with at least mathematics, because mathematics, it's a language of science, right? So be conceptually well versed in mathematics, I would say. Even if you are a PCB student, you can just do the basics of maths, because yeah, when you come to IISER, it's really helpful. Also, do not just study to clear the exam, because IISER aptitude test, you are applying for getting to IISER. You want to become a scientist, right? So it's not just like you will get Caruso package, so you want to come here, right? It should be your passion, right? So science, mathematics should be a passion, and I would say so. Clear your basics well. Do practice problems as much as you can, and yeah, try to love maths, I would say. And if you do enough maths, you will try to love it, right? Trying about the biology part, I think I've really discussed it. Do NCRT well, and I think you are good to go. This was it. For time management part, there's nothing need of time management, because the paper has like 3 hours for it. So I think time management is not much required. But if you solve some 2-3 mock test and you give 4-5 previous year paper of IAT exam, I think you can get a gist upon it. At which section to attempt first, when to leave, how much time to devote to each section. You have to decide it personally. I can't say, I can give you a formula sheet that, hey, do this subject first, then do this subject, then do this, and give this much minute for this much minute for this. This is not mostly for people, and attempt this many questions. The first thing is you should target at least 100 marks in IIT exam to get a decent ISA, right? So that should be your target. For if you're a student category, from if you are from some other categories, you can do it accordingly, right? For I think EWS and OBC, it's 10 marks less, and for SC, STs, PWTs people, it's 40 to 50 marks less. So you can divide, strategize accordingly. And all the best for your IISER aptitude test. I hope you get your desired IISER. एंड हाँ, मचाओ आइजर में आओ, मचाओ। यहाँ पर बढ़िया साइंस होती है, बेहतरीन, आप आ सकते हो, मचा सकते हो। दैट्स ऑल फॉर द वीडियो गाइस। अगर अच्छा लगे तो आपको लाइक कर देना, सब्सक्राइब कर देना, जिससे कि यार मतलब मोटिवेशन बनता है क्रिएट करने का। बिकॉज हमारा जो शेड्यूल होता है काफ़ी हेक्टिक रहता है, हमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा लैब वर्क करना होता है, काफ़ी सारी हमारी क्लासेस चल रही होती हैं, इसके अलावा एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ करनी होती है, क्लब एक्टिविटीज़ करनी होती है, उसके बीच से वीडियो के लिए टाइम निकालना थोड़ा सा स्पेसिफिक हो जाता है। तो अगर आप लाइक करोगे तो मज़ा आएगा, ठीक है? तो लाइक कर देना, सब्सक्राइब कर देना। और कुछ आप चाहते हो कि किस चीज़ के ऊपर बनाओ, आपको कोई कॉन्सेप्ट समझना है, कुछ भी आपको इन जनरल डाउट है, कॉलेज लाइफ के ऊपर डाउट है, आप कमेंट कर देना, मैं उस चीज़ पे वीडियो ले आऊँगा, ठीक है? तो बस कमेंट कर देना किस चीज़ पे वीडियो चाहिए आपको।